Welcome to I'm Too Busy, an interview-based show hosted by a talented makeup artist, Christina Flach. Christina offers viewers a unique blend of personal stories, inspiring journeys, and practical beauty tips. Join the conversation as Christina features successful individuals from various industries who share their insights on health, wellness, makeup, and the keys to their success. So now, please welcome the host of I'm Too Busy, Christina Flach.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of I'm Too Busy TV, where we dive into the lives of inspiring entrepreneurs and industry professionals who are making waves despite their packed schedules. I am your host, Christina Flach, and today I am so excited to have a very special guest who's transforming leadership through innovative mindset approaches and systems thinking. Please join me in welcoming Rob Kalwarowsky.
Thanks for having me, Christina. It's
Thank
exciting
you.
to be on the show with you again.
I know I was on your show. So I
Yeah.
just need to talk a little bit more about you to let everyone know all these amazing things. You're a world-renowned executive coach and keynote speaker, and you have made significant strides in leadership transformation. As the author of the influential book, Capitalizing on Chaos, you specialize in creating profound mindset shifts, developing power influence strategies, and applying MIT-informed systems thinking to help leaders thrive in complex environments. What's particularly impressive about you, Rob, is that your TEDx talk has become an international sensation with over 300,000 views. You're known for your remarkable ability to impact your clients quickly, delivering massive results in as little as a few weeks while creating transformations that last for years. Look at you.
I love what I do, and I'm pretty good at it.
Clearly, your work focuses on transforming leadership through mindset shifts. What initially drew you to this approach to executive coaching?
Yeah. So it was really through my own journey. And I'm an MIT trained engineer. I worked 10 years in corporate roles, and I really struggled with my own mental health throughout those times. And it took me therapy and understanding a lot more about psychology in order to really change and transform myself, which led to all the things you mentioned, right? I pivoted from engineering into
Mm-hmm.
coaching. I did a TED talk. I'm writing, my book's coming out in September, like all these amazing things. And then for folks out there, you can see the Costa Rican jungle behind me. I'm actually from Edmonton, Canada, but um, it led to the ability to move down here with my wife. And so that was purely through what was going on in my mind. And I had a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of beliefs and a bunch of patterns, and learning to unlock and change these patterns allowed me to transform as an individual and then also impact more folks as a leader.
Can you explain the core philosophy behind your book, Capitalizing on Chaos, and what inspired you to write it?
I mean, the inspiration, I mean, it's been a wild journey for me, and the inspiration actually was I was in 2020, my wife and we went to her best friend's wedding in Kauai, and I was really struggling with my own mental health at the time, and I always used to say that there was a battle going on inside my head. And we walk onto this beautiful beach in Kauai, and the Hawaiian sun and the waves, and we walk down the beach and we see this Volkswagen van, like the Volkswagen bus from the 80s, right?
Right, right.
And there's like this box at the back, and these guys were selling fruit out of the back of the out of the van. And I look out, and they're not in the van, and I look out, and they're out surfing. And there was this part of me that was like, oh, I would love to do this, like experience freedom and just like doing what you want and like this lifestyle of like just, you know, making what you can do to just get by, but also just really focusing on enjoyment. And then there's other part of me was like, no, you can't do that. I will never let
The
you do
grown
that.
up part of you is thinking that, right? You're having a
Yeah.
conflict between your inner child and the adult in your brain. And they were probably, who won? Or did they both win, maybe?
Well, at that time, right, it was the first time I realized that I needed to change. And that's when I started digging in and uncovering those things. And that led me to the transformation as a leader. I mean, in terms of the book right now, like literally today, I was, I think it was yesterday or two days ago, the Treasury Secretary of the United States was talking about how Trump's strategy in navigating the tariff negotiations is called strategic uncertainty.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
there's never been a better time for a book called Capitalizing on Chaos, because we have
Very
political
true.
uncertainty, economic uncertainty, and for tech leaders out there and most businesses, right? AI is also something that is disrupting our businesses in like at a incredibly high rate. And so it's more important than ever to really be able to step back from fear and get our confidence and our control back in ourselves, and then use that to innovate and disrupt and problem solve.
Hmm. So, did you feel like you had a lot of chaos in your life?
On the outward side, no,
Hmm.
but inwardly, absolutely. And that's why
Yeah.
this book is so important for everybody. And as entrepreneurs, you know this, Christina, right? It is like you're always dealing with something. New product launch,
Constantly.
your client called you, right? Like you lost a deal, or your client backed out, or you're trying to get delivery, you're trying to get manufacturing, you're trying to do all these things, and it's always something's going on. And so it's even more important for entrepreneurs, but also like with executives, it's the same deal, right?
Right.
And
Very
so
true.
that's why getting here and getting clear in our minds about who we are, how we lead, it takes us out of the fear, out of the amygdala responses, and
Uh huh.
allows us to utilize our actual brain.
Love that. Your TEDx talk has generated over 300,000 views. What key message resonated most with audiences, and why do you think it's had such an impact?
Yes. So the TED Talk's called How to Handle a Bad Boss. And I did it yeah, and I did it in Kumamoto, Japan. And if you know anything about Japanese work culture, they have a very big problem with like manager related bullying that leads to not only mental health but also suicides. And for me, I struggled with that early in my career. I had a bad boss, and it led to a suicide attempt for myself in 2013.
Oh my gosh.
And we have only seen bad bosses become more prevalent in society, especially the last few years. And I think that that's the reason why, one, is people are watching this talk, they're engaging with it, but it's also because they're dealing with this stuff. It's like a daily thing now.
I actually had an experience with a Japanese company, Uniqlo. It's the only time I've gotten fired from a photo shoot was with this company. I had said to them, they got this model. This is crazy. I was ashamed for so long, and now I just think it's so absurd. So we were on this shoot. They had a model with straight black hair, and they wanted me to have her like with perm blonde hair. Like I can't cut her color hair. I can't do all that on a photo shoot. And I just tried. My agents always say, like, give realistic expectations so the client isn't shocked. And so I very sweetly said, I'm going to try and do this as best I can, but I can only do so much with the model. And then and they said, oh, okay, fine. So I thought we were good. And then it was funny enough, it was April Fool's Day. And my agent calls and he's like, what's going on there? And I said, nothing. It's all good. I'm doing it. And they're like, they say you're argumentative and combative and they want you to leave. And I'm like, I was sick to my stomach. I ran and got the photographer. I'm like, you need to tell my agent that I am the truth here. And he told him she's been amazing, but it was the weirdest experience. I totally get what you're saying about a bad boss can really affect your mental health, because that day it traumatized me for years, that experience.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when I can imagine how you felt, or all these other people feel, that they've done nothing wrong, they're doing their job, but it's a culture thing. And I had no idea that any of this could happen. So it's real.
It's really real. And toxic work cultures increase the risk of depression by 300%. And
Wow.
so it's something that people are dealing with, and especially now with the uncertainty in the world, managers and executives, they feel that pressure and that fear, which puts them into destructive leadership behaviors. And that's what the
Interesting.
book talks about. For over half the book is we break down the 6 destructive leadership parts, because they're part of all of us. But
Mm-hmm.
ultimately, how do we get out of those so then we can show up as a better leader, create better work environments where people are happier, healthier, more productive, and all of it, you make more money too.
Can you tell me a little bit about the 6?
Yeah. So the 6 bad boss types, it starts with the ones that are very extreme. So the first one would be the classic a-hole boss. It's known
Mm-hmm.
as the arrogant and violent boss.
Mm-hmm.
This is, imagine, the role that Gordon Ramsay plays on Hell's Kitchen, and someone served him raw chicken and he throws it on the ground, right? Like that's the classic. But
Right.
it's only 5.5% of the workforce actually has a boss like that, so it's actually
Mm-hmm.
relatively uncommon. The one slightly a level down than that is called the abusive narcissist. And almost 20% of folks have a boss like this. So it's pretty common, and it's exactly what you think it is. It's and actually people who are this way rise up in kind of toxic cultures very easily, because they're all about, I am taking the good things and I'm deflecting the blame, and then when something happens, I'm immediately quick to discipline my people, yell at them, make threats, those type of things. So they behave in this Machiavellian way that's all about them.
Interesting.
On the opposite side of the spectrum, we have the passive types. These folks, they're not really out to get you. In general, they have either parts that make them want to hide or make them feel like they're imposters, or they're just haven't done management training, so they're just not effective at knowing how to delegate. And so one
Mm-hmm.
of the types is called the cowardly boss. I don't like the word cowardly. I call them the ghost manager. And
Mm-hmm.
you can think of, George Costanza from Seinfeld, where he sleeps under his desk, right?
Oh my gosh, I love those episodes. They're so funny.
Yeah, and then the last one we'll cover before the break is called the messy boss. And this one is, just think about Mr. Bean, right? He walks around the world and there's chaos around him, but he's just not necessarily aware that he's causing all of it. And so these folks, they struggle with deadlines, they struggle with expectations, with giving people clarity. And so their teams just don't know what to do.
Wow. We are going to take our first commercial break. We are chatting with Rob Kalwarowsky, and we will be right back. I'm Christina Flach, and I'm too busy.
Mike Zorek, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Welcome back to I'm Too Busy. I'm Christina Flach, and we are chatting with Rob Kalwarowsky. So, Rob, let's finish about these remaining nightmare bosses.
Yeah, so we talked about the 2 actively destructive leaders. We talked about the 2 passive destructive leaders. Now we have 2 that are in the middle.
Okay.
And you can think about this. The first one is the passive aggressive boss. I like to always liken it to Bill Lumbergh from Office Space. You know, it's like they're not willing to say it to your face, but they're condescending, they gaslight you,
The worst.
those type of things. Yeah.
Do you talk at all about,
destructive.
do you ever, like, what would be the boss that people want to work with? What are the qualities that that type of person has? I mean, besides the obvious, is that something it's innate in them, or do you think it's training, or what is it that makes a good boss?
So let me get to the last one, and then we'll go
yes. Okay.
Yes. So the final type is the passive egocentric, and it's just basically like, I'll take credit for your work, but I won't do it in front of your face. And so my mom had a boss who she like delivered a slide deck, and he just put his name. He like replaced her name with his name.
Oh my gosh.
And it's like, well, I did everything. Yeah. And so
it's like, I don't know how someone does that and feels okay with themselves and think that it's going to have a good outcome, that their employee's not going to be offended, or that they're going to go to HR. Karmically, I mean, we've got that factor as well.
So this is the nature of parts. And getting to your question, right? So that research says that basically it's 65.1% of people have one of those 6 destructive leaders as their manager.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as part of my book, I talk about how we all have those 6 as part of us that show up at different moments, right? But when you're asking, like, what do people want from their manager? Like Gallup has a study on employee engagement. They've done it for years, but they have 5 behaviors that they talk about what drives employee engagement. Number 1 is being a caring manager. 2 is leading people So you're working on their strengths, you're coaching them to get better, you're helping them get better in their career. Like these are very much the qualities that people want, as well as giving them constant feedback, right? And so those are
Mhm.
basically the other four behaviors, but it's very much a leader as a coach and a thought partner who's helping them grow their career versus the classic, I tell you what to do, and it's, without care, right?
Mhm. Wow. How does MIT informed systems thinking differ from traditional leadership approaches, and why is it so effective?
Yeah. So this is where I approach the psychology from a systems point of view. And what you'll see in general for most coaches who do leadership coaching, one is if they don't do mindset, Harvard Business Review says that only 25% of leadership training is effective because it addresses mindset. So if they're not doing that, it's not going to work. That's the
Hmm.
first thing.
Mhm.
um,
Wow.
but traditional or most leadership coaches that you see out there, they'll use things like emotional intelligence, they'll use tools like affirmations or these type of things, and they can work. But if you want to truly transform, using systems thinking and applying basically the internal family systems parts to it allows you to make transformations. And literally have had folks like have massive growth in 45 minutes, and that's why it can also last for a long time, because it's not this element of like emotional intelligence where you have to repeat. It's you're making a sustainable change.
And what are some of those changes?
Yeah. So when I talk about parts, have you ever seen the movie Inside Out?
I don't think so. Who's in that film?
It's a Pixar movie. Um, it's actually great for folks out there. It's family friendly. It's a great movie. But it's this little girl, and you're kind of in her mind, and there's a control panel, and these little characters drive her at different moments, and it's her emotions. But it's no different than the devil or angel on your shoulder, or what I experienced in
Mhm.
Kauai, right? Which is I had a part of me that was like, hey, I want to move to the beach, and then the part of me that goes, no, you have to stay in your corporate job and be safe, right?
Right.
And so we all have that internal dialogue with different parts at different times.
Hmm.
And that's why we all have those six bad boss types in our own minds, right? And I know you've experienced this. It's like, you know, Christina, your business should be bigger, or you should work harder, or you should this, or like whatever that thought is for you, right? And then there's another part of you that's probably like, you know what, Christina, you should take a break, or you should go chill out, or maybe you don't want to talk to this person, or you don't want to get out of bed today, right? And so it's understanding and listening to those, and then applying a framework and a system in order for you, your true self, to become the leader of them. And I liken
Hmm.
it just to any leadership, except for your team is in here versus sitting next to you in the office.
Interesting. You're known for delivering massive results in just a few weeks. Can you share an example of a particularly dramatic transformation that you've guided?
Yeah. So the first one I'll give you is I had a gentleman, he came to me, and he was really stuck on a career decision. And it was basically he could leave the company that he was in and take this other job, or he was thinking about staying. And he really battled with it because he had some people pleasing, but he also knew that this next job might be better, but he had to think about like him moving his family and all the logistics.
Mm-hmm.
And it took 45 minutes, but we were able to get in to have his parts, for him to dialogue with his parts. And then he was just very clear on the decision. And subsequently, he took the new job and moved and brought his family, and he's massively happier now.
That's remarkable. That must feel just so satisfying and gratifying to you when you have these situations with your clients. Can you tell when you're going to start working with someone that you're going to get a result like that, or is it always surprising?
What still surprises me is how fast it works. Because it's really shocking sometimes. Like often, like I go to therapy and I've done this work for many years, and I've had breakthroughs along the way, of course, right? But it's like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes folks, like when folks aren't deep struggling with mental health like I was, it's like literally I did a session with a guy today and it was like, oh, and then now he's like going to start becoming a professional speaker. Like he had been doing this, like speaking as part of his career for a long time. And now he's like, okay, I'm launching professional speaking. Obviously, I'm going to help him do that. But it became so clear today that he's thinking, like, now he's compiling a list of folks he can reach out to. We're going to refine his talk, and then we'll get him out there and start rolling.
How did he get that clarity?
It's basically once you allow your true gifts to come through,
Mm-hmm.
and it's called self leadership, right? And it's when you get these voices that are like, maybe you're not good enough to be a speaker, you don't know enough, you need to take another degree, you need to have 50 years experience, who's going to listen to you? All these voices that many of us have, right? And this is totally
Mm-hmm.
normal. But once you can build trust with them and give them empathy and compassion, because they're trying to help you, they just don't know how. And that's when they step back and you can access self. And self allows you to be confident and clear. And then you can see, oh, I did this talk before and people loved it. Oh, I am an expert in technology. Oh, why wouldn't I be able to speak in front of audiences? And then you can just move into, okay, now how do I go about doing that? And how is the easier part.
What are the most common limiting mindsets you encounter among executives, and how do you help them overcome these barriers?
Yeah, I mean, imposter syndrome is the most common. That's a very, I mean, I think the stats at 70%. I would say everybody has that. It just depends what room you're in,
Mm-hmm.
right? The other one is this element of like the high achiever, the perfectionist, and that's the one at the beach that told me that I can't move to the beach. And that one had been with me for my whole life. It's why I went to MIT, why I was able to get through MIT, why I was successful in my career, why I work so hard, why I push. Um, and I have many executives that are working 12 to 14 hours a day, and they're unable to take a break.
It's so important
And
having balance. I mean, how do you teach that to someone?
you unteach it.
Ah, you unteach it. I
that's the
like
tr-
that.
that's the trick, right? And it's like I had a client last year. We worked together for 6 months, and he came to me in March of 2024, and he said, I want to scale my business. from 3 million to 10 million. And I was like, all right, let's go. And it, like, he had been stagnant at that business for, I think it was around 3 to 4 years, where they were consistently hitting 3 million, but they were never getting past that.
Mm-hmm.
And we started digging in, and it was about 4 weeks in, he said to me in session, he was like, oh, I'm the reason my business is holding back. And it was because he needed to be the one who was checking all the work, who was the guy on the phone. He was the hero. He was the perfectionist. I got to be the guy who takes care of my clients. But once he was able to unlearn that pattern, then it was like, okay, now if I'm running a $10 million business, he didn't have the clients there yet, but it's like, now we're projecting forward. Who are the experts that I need in place that can train my staff to get to that level, that can put systems in place, that can make sure that we have the people in place to be able to manage that workload. And then the team became more empowered, obviously, because he took a step back. They stepped up. Their quality was great because it was going to be there anyways. It was just suffering from a little micromanagement. And then 6 months later, one of their biggest clients walked in the door and said, I have a contract for you for between $9 to $12 million. And here you go. And they're on track to hit $15 million this year.
Wow, that's a story. It's amazing that one thing like micromanaging can affect a huge, like infect an entire company. Do you think that's the key thing? We're going to take a quick commercial break, but I want to come back to that question of is micromanaging really affecting so many businesses? We're going to take a commercial break. I'm Christina Flach, and I'm too busy.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them. Rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies. Find settings that allow them to be the most productive and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back. I'm Christina Flach, and we are chatting with Rob Kalwarowsky. Rob, why don't we just dig in a little deeper with this micromanaging issue with these executives and CEOs? How detrimental is the micromanaging for CEOs and executives that are affecting their employees and, you know, the bottom line of these companies from becoming really successful?
it's incredibly detrimental. Even at the micro level. Like if you're a team leader and you have 5 or 6 folks on your team, if you are needing to be in the nuts and bolts of their work at all times, and like literally I had a boss, he was the one that led me to have some of those mental health problems. Like he stood behind me and dictated an executive summary for a report to me.
Oh
And I
my
was
gosh.
uh like I spent $200,000 to go to MIT and now I'm just a typist.
Basically a high level executive assistant. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. How power and influence strategies are a key part of your work. What ethical considerations do you emphasize when teaching these approaches?
100%. So the key with power and influence is leadership is influence, right? Now, we don't, and obviously when I coach it, I'm also doing the mindset work. So we're not doing it from a place of fear where we need to stab people in the back or we need to push people down or anything like that. But often what happens is if people are actually truly good, they struggle with talking about themselves, or they struggle with stepping into their gifts, or they struggle with building influence to get projects done, to make transformations at companies, like leading a, you want to implement a new software, do a digital transformation, or do a culture change. Like you need to be able to be effective at transformation or at influence to get that done. The best part about it is you as a leader, if you learn power and influence, you will rapidly increase your career, you will get more done, you will get better results, but you can totally do this in an ethical way because you don't have to push people down. You can do this in a way that you're building people up and getting
Mhm.
people on board with the great initiatives that you're trying to run.
I think it's so important when you're a CEO or a high level executive that you hire the right team and you let them do their magic and let them. I just feel like you're going to get so much more out of your employees if you make them feel important and heard and let them know what your expectations are, but let them do what you hired them to do because they're an expert in social media and marketing. You're not. You're a CEO, so be a CEO. Stay in your lane. And I find that like with my team, I just like let them do their thing, and it gives them the freedom to be creative and to be the best versions of themselves because they're not feeling resentful and like that I'm watching every second, like how you felt. I would never want anyone to feel like that. I mean, that's so awful. How has your own leadership philosophy evolved throughout your career?
I mean, the first thing, like, let's be honest, this is called I'm Too Busy TV, right? And if you want to
Yes.
be less busy, stop micromanaging people, right? And you said it, like, give clear expectation. This is what I need you to do. And yeah, like, you'll look at the results, like your social media team, you'll look at the results, right? Like, you'll see, like, your Instagram and your LinkedIn, you'll see the YouTube
Mhm.
views going up, like, all these things, right? And it's not that everything will be great and you'll never need to give feedback or correct anything or those type of things, right? But it's allowing them to be creative and empowering them to solve those problems. And you
Mhm.
also want to create the environment that if they have a problem, they don't hide it from you, because that's when you get the big problems, because things will snowball and build and build and build, and then you'll have a big business problem. And so
Right.
you're right, it's creating trust and psychological safety and allowing people to step in, and you're coaching, you're empowering them, you're helping them achieve, you're removing barriers. And that's not micromanagement. And that's how you get more done.
Right, exactly. Can you tell me about a moment in your coaching career that fundamentally changed your approach or perspective?
Yeah, this would be less from my coaching career, but more from my own personal development.
Hmm.
And even earlier, actually, it did happen earlier this year. And so I've transformed recently, and it's always a constant thing in life is there'll be moments where you go through hard things and then you transform to the next level. That's how life goes. And so when we had you on our show, Christina, I was I was contracting for a coaching company, and at the end of this last year, I left to start my own company,
Hmm.
and I really had to get back to the fundamentals of business, and it made me really reassess what did I want to write my book about, what my services were, who am I trying to get to, and really get really clear and aligned on those things and have everything follow that. And so actually I had to rewrite my book, and we're still in the process of finishing that, but I had to rewrite my book in order to fit where I want to go as a business owner.
Hmm.
And it was hard. Like we had the book sold to a publisher, and I had a moment where I was like, "Oh no, like we need to pull this back. We need to rewrite this and reframe it because I'm going here instead of going here."
Interesting. What role does chaos really play in organizational success, and how can leaders leverage it rather than simply trying to control it? And finally, can chaos be a positive thing?
It absolutely can. So we've seen this play out in the pandemic, right? And so in the pandemic, there I heard of this vodka company that pivoted to doing hand sanitizer. I spoke to one of Canada's fastest growing companies on the podcast, Aiden Fida from Blade Air, and he was talking about during the pandemic they were just an air filtration company, but during the pandemic they realized that they needed to provide sanitation as part of that service, and so they added UV lighting. They upgraded the HEPA filters, they redesigned it so now they have the maximum airflow. And it's those type of innovations during those times which capture massive market share. Tech folks call this
Interesting.
disruption, right?
Back to the disruption. Yeah, it's true. What advice would you give to emerging leaders who aspire to create transformational change in their organizations?
The first step is to create transformational change in yourself. Who are you as a leader? What is your guiding principles or your guiding values or what's really important to you?
Hmm.
And you want to start tuning into those voices that are in your head, right? The ones that are holding you back from being your best leader, right? If they're saying, "Hey, you shouldn't apply for that job. You shouldn't try to get that promotion. You shouldn't call this person and try to make a sale. You shouldn't ask this senior executive for advice on how they got through their career." Those are the moments where you can change your life. And the most common advice, or my best career advice, is come up with a list of 10 people that can make or break your dream, whatever that is. If it's starting your own business, if that's launching a product line, if it's becoming an executive at your company, if it's getting a new job, whatever that is, and build a relationship with those 10 people
Hmm.
because they will give you great advice. And when people give you advice, they want to be right. And so when they want to be right, they will help you get to where you want to go.
I find that successful people are more than happy to help. Like all we have to do is get out of our own way and ask for some help. And it's so funny. Like, for example, with my show, I interviewed Lee Steinberg, and I have a bunch of friends that are in the sports world, and they're like, how the actual F did you get that guy on your show? And I'm like, I sent him an email and asked him. And honestly, that's all you have to do is just ask. And people are more than happy to help. Don't you think?
Oh, and Christina, I've been podcasting since 2018, and it's incredible the people you can ask to come on a show that will say yes, right? And
It
it's
is.
like you can ask anyone. Yeah, I've been turned down. Like I asked for Simon Sinek and he said no. Like, okay, like that was a
Yeah.
shot in the dark, right? But it was like we've had, or I've had a bunch of incredible guests like on the show as well. And I think that's the thing for folks. The other thing, right, is you're not is give you'll need to give something to folks, right? Is it's not just purely like you're going to email, you know, Simon Sinek and be like, hey, just give me advice, right? Like he gets probably thousands of emails like that a day, right?
Hmm.
But if you know a senior executive at your company and you know they're working on this specific project, then you can say, hey, I can help you on the specific project with this. And I'd love to ask you for some advice. And so
That's
that's how you
genius.
can make the
Right.
relationship happen.
And it's a lot more comfortable for someone if they are going to ask for help to not just feel they're asking, they're offering besides. So I think that's great. Look, okay, we're going to do this is a question, but then we're going to have to go to a commercial break. But looking ahead, what leadership challenges do you see on the horizon and how should executives prepare for them? So think about that. We're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be back and answer that question. I'm Christina Flach and I'm too busy.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of The Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on The Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
Mike Zorek, a three-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a six-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2/3, and 2/4. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Welcome back to I'm Too Busy. Okay, Rob, what's your answer to this question? Looking ahead, what leadership challenges do you see on the horizon and how should executives prepare for them?
The biggest challenge right now is navigating chaos, right? And we've seen it. We don't know what's going to happen in the financial markets. We don't know
Right.
what's going to happen politically because it's shifting literally every day, if
A
not more
lot
than
of
that.
uncertainty.
Uh, And we also don't know technologically what's going to happen, right? Is AI is changing at a rate that is unprecedented. And you see tech companies now, they're laying off middle managers and really, consolidating or becoming more efficient, as some of them will
Hmm.
say, right?
Yes.
And I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is like, what do we need to prepare for? Anything and everything. And it starts with being true and within ourselves. Because if we fall into fear, we only have basically four responses we can take. We can fight, we can flight, we can freeze, and we can fawn. And if we let our amygdala take over, we can't access problem solving, we can't access creativity, we can't access good leadership. We will fall into one of those bad bosses because that's the way the brain works. And so it's really being clear on who you are, the strengths you bring, and opening that empowerment for your teams, because that's where you're going to find those innovative disruptive ideas to get through and profit while the other companies are cutting staff and cutting costs. You can be capturing market share and profits that'll lead you incredibly better than you would have otherwise.
What do you do when your day isn't flowing, Rob?
When my day's not flowing,
Yes. What do
that's
you do?
it happens sometimes for sure for me. And the one thing that has helped me, I have a labradoodle, and actually, if folks watch my TED talk, How to Handle a Bad Boss, I have a story about Winston, and we got him 4 years ago, so right in the middle of the pandemic, and he is my gets me back on track. And so, like, I'll get into bed, I'll just get on the bed and I'll say, "Hey, Winston, come on." And then we'll like lay there and I'll rub his belly and he'll lick my head, and it just really helps me and soothes me. Oh, Christina, what's your dog's name?
This is Parker, and he's always on my
Amazing.
show. And yes, but yeah, so I think that's amazing that you have your dog, because it really is, they are a comfort and a joy, and they bring, so it's nice to step away. So do you just go and visit with him a minute, and it just kind of helps clear your flow?
Yeah, and I book this into my calendar every day actually, which is it's been like that for a while, and I just find it helps me. Like, I get up early and I work out, and then I have most of my meetings and my a lot of my work happening early in the morning. And so sometime around 11 to noon is when I'll take 10 minutes with Winston, and it really helps me get back into, get rid of that stress and get back so I can
Hmm.
do some good work in the afternoon.
I love that. How important is self-care, and do you have any special exercise and diet that you do to make you feel like the best version of you?
Well, the first is drink amazing Costa Rican coffee.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, it's incredibly important. And for any leaders or any people out there, I absolutely recommend like physical fitness, eating well, like all those things. Of course, like for specifics on those things, like I can help you with some of it, but I mean, there's a lot of resources for that. But I wake up in the morning, I go for a run or I work out. Um, Generally, like I'll do a not a huge meditation, but I'll check in with my parts and make sure everything's good. And then for diet, I mean, my diet here is incredible because we have access to like literally farmers surround my house.
That's
um,
so
and
wonderful.
so, yeah, our eggs come from just down the street. Our
I
chicken
love
comes
that.
from a gentleman who lives probably about 5 minutes away. Like our produce, of course, is amazing. And so, like we're eating just really fresh produce right from the folks that are probably within a couple miles of where we live.
That's so awesome. I love that. Where's your happy place? It looks like you're at your happy place, but is there somewhere else at your happy place?
This is really it, honestly. And so 2 years ago, just over 2 years ago, we actually moved down here April 1st. But 2 years ago, we had never been to Costa Rica before, and my wife and I, we stopped our lease in Edmonton. We sold most of our stuff, and we put some of her stuff in her sister's house, and we came down here, 4 suitcases and Winston. And the moment I stepped off the plane, it was like my whole body just went, ah.
Ah, you exhale. Yeah, I love that.
And it was just a feeling like I hadn't experienced before, because it was always like, you're in the bustle of, you know, of Canada and Boston, and like you're going and going and you feel like you're doing okay. But then it was just here, even though we landed obviously in an airport in the city, and like it was crazy there too. But there was something about the country that just like lowered my stress. And one is, it's been incredible for my coaching and my own personal growth. Like now I am a far better coach than I was. And I just like, I just don't want to leave.
Love that. What would people be surprised to know about you?
Well, a fun fact is I listen to Katy Perry before every interview I do.
Do you? Is there a special song or is it just any Katy Perry?
I do firework, and it's part of my vocal exercises. So I sing. Well, I don't sing, but I have like the the cap of a pen where I hum along to Katy Perry.
I love that. Is there anything else that you'd like to share that I have not asked you today?
I just I always say this in every interview is, if anything, if you have a voice in your head or you have a feeling that something's just not right, it doesn't have to be massive. It could be, if I've had these thoughts about like, this was when I was in my career, is like, is this all life is going to be? Or how I'm going to do this for another 35 years?
Hmm.
Or, like you're working constantly 12-hour days and you don't know what's like, you just can't escape that. Like if any of that resonates with you, like please reach out and please tease that thread, because your body and your mind is telling you something extremely important. And don't let it become something where you're burnt out or you get anxiety or you get depression or you get these things. Act on it early, because one is you'll be faster to rebound, but then two is you can move more quickly to the fun stuff, which is the expansiveness and the transformation and becoming the person you can be. And it doesn't always lead you to quitting your job and moving to the beach, right? But it can be small tweaks, but I can guarantee you it will change your life for the better. And so if you want to contact me, robkalwarowsky.com is my website. I'm sure
We'll
Christina will
have
drop
all of
it
that
in the
in the show
podcast
notes
notes.
for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah, and if and on my website, so if you go to robkalwarowsky.com, there's a tab at the top called book. If you put your email in, we'll send you the first 2 chapters of my book for free. And so you can
Oh, that's
check
so
out
generous.
Capitalizing on Chaos.
Thank you. Thank you, Rob, for joining me today on I'm Too Busy and sharing your inspiring journey and invaluable insights with my audience. Your story demonstrates how powerful mindset shifts and strategic thinking can transform not just individual careers, but entire organizations. Thank you so much for being on my show today. It was so good to see you again. And I'm
Thank
Christina
you so
Flach, and
much,
I'm Too
Christina.
Busy. Thank you. And I'll see you next week.
This has been I'm Too Busy. with host Christina Flach. Tune in each week as Christina approaches the concept of success holistically, recognizing that achievement is not solely measured by financial triumphs, but also by maintaining a healthy work-life balance and focusing on self-care. Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.